Great.
Yeah, got the PRS right here.
You had it there for the last video too.
Yeah.
I need to change our backdrop. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to another kind of shop blog sort of discussion point. At any given point, you and I are building pickups, and something comes out, and then we're like, we should film a topic on that. So that was yesterday, and the gear rabbit hole is the topic today. So what makes you go down the gear rabbit hole? I mean, it would be obviously gear gas is a subject we've talked about before. We all suffer from gas problems, but it's this rabbit hole of what causes that. So there you go. There's the platform. Make your stand.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes it feels like we get like a good topic going while we're building pickups, and we're all like, "Yeah, that's a good idea," and then the day happens, and then it's the next morning, and then we're like, "Oh yeah, what were all the cool things?"
We had to make extra coffee this morning and all that. So.
Yeah. But it is something that I think all of us that are, musicians, not everybody. Some people are really good about like, this is my one guitar, this is my one amp, and I'm set. And like to those of you, I have much respect and everything. But for a lot of us, it seems like, because we're plugged into the social medias, every once in a while we get wind of something and we kind of go off down the rabbit hole. Like the next app that's open is Reverb, and we're seeing what stuff's going for and looking at the soul listings and all of that good stuff. But it seems like you're just going about your normal daily life, and then you see something, and then you're on a new trajectory, and then you're all about single pickup guitars that week or whatever. So
yeah.
I think that it's something that we all make fun of. We all call it gas, and we pick a cute little like name for it. But it is just like you see something, and then you're like, okay, I have to like make that mine or figure out a way to make that happen. And you trade gear that you thought you would never trade for things like that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of it's definitely a thing.
Yeah, you get fixated on something, and like I think we all have some degree of OCD, right? We have some degree of like we're obsessed over this one thing once we know we want it. And that's what people do with, financing and credit cards and guilty of that on some occasions, obviously, both of us. But what are the things that trigger that for you, for me, for people out there? I mean, that's one of the things we'd like to know. What triggers it for you? And we're not trying to get in your head so then we can sell you more pickups. We're genuinely just like getting into the weeds of what makes you kind of go down that path. And as manufacturers, we get tempted to play that game if we figure out, okay, someone's doing this to ignite the gas to then sell a bunch of stuff, and we think, oh well, if we follow that path, then it'll be successful, and it often it's not. And a lot of times for us, it's just been creating a good product and talking about it, but not like hyping it up, not creating this big like insane production about something that we do. And that's kind of just been our style. But so what are some examples? Let's just like make it more personal here. So like an example in the last, like, say 3 weeks that you saw something and you went down a rabbit hole. Give me like a couple.
Lately I've been on like a big like Novo kick, and that's been, and even probably like the last year, I feel like since we started building some pickups to some people kind of adjacent to them, I think I was kind of like, oh, we're inching closer and closer, and I'm that much closer to getting one in my hands, and I don't even know why specifically that kind of like that brush fire started,
Sure.
but like that one was kind of burning, and I even like went through a couple other gear phases, it seems like, after that, and now I'm kind of like coming back around.
Interesting.
So maybe like gear, like OCD stuff is like an orbit, and after a while, after long enough, you come back around, back home, and
It's
then
a boomerang that just comes out
Yeah.
and it hits you in the back of the head after a while, and you're like, what am I doing?
But I think one of the things that I said yesterday was, or Monday even, was that I like unicorns. I like things that you just don't see, and especially in like little old Boise, Idaho, you don't really see a lot of that stuff like that, and especially a lot of these like super, I guess boutique is the word, and small builder, like kind of like what we're doing, just in a different avenue. And I think I like just kind of respect that, and that on the other end of the spectrum, we've kind of been on the Tom Anderson kick.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that those are like completely different ends of the guitar spectrum, but they're both so captivating to me, and I just think that the stuff being really well built, and I like to try and build stuff really well. And so I think you kind of that there's like I identify with some of
Right.
their values maybe that I
Yeah.
think I do. I don't know these people.
Well, you respect the company, and then you know that you can trust kind of what they put out. Sometimes in the gear industry, you can't. Often it's maybe the more hype than it is substance. Sometimes it's both, where there's like
Yeah.
a lot of excitement about something, but it's legitimately a good product, and
You don't know. You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what's the
It
truth?
is that like weird chase, right? Where you're like, okay, well, what is it? What is it that I want? And I often will do, like, I will look for substitutes for what I want. So I'm like, say I want this like super nice amp or this super nice guitar. I'm like, well, can I get there with this, this, and this? And like, sometimes you can, and oftentimes you get burned. I don't know about you guys, but you get burned by buying something that's like you want to custom shop Les Paul, and you keep buying Epiphones to try to like scratch the itch, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And it's that kind of mentality where there's so many great options to scratch that itch. And you're like, you can buy a bunch of Les Paul looking guitars under $1,000, but is it going to really make you inspired? And it might. I mean, there's definitely these rare cases. For me, it was I think Andy Martin from Reverb, formerly Pro Guitar Shop. He posted something about like a Bernie Les Paul. So I'm like a big MIJ kind of like anything fan, and so I'm like, oh, what about that? And I like go down this rabbit hole, and I go into the Tokai and the Edwards and the Orville worlds, and like start just like, before I know it, it's like 35 minutes later that I'm like, wait, what just happened? Like, and I'm not gonna buy anything right away, but it's just like I start going down this path, and so I don't know. That's how it is for me, and it's definitely that. I'm with you on the unicorn thing. Lately, it's like I want to find something that's weird and unique, and not because like the guy on Reverb's like, this is the most unique. You know, everyone says this is like the best guitar ever, but I'm selling it, which is always funny. That could be a whole other show by itself, I think. Yeah, so as you guys think about this subject, what makes you buy gear? What makes you gas for gear? I know that the way that you mentioned this earlier, but the way that we consume gear is different. It used to be you had to get the magazine in the mail before the internet was huge. Now you can go on your own rabbit trail, and then you can go get like 65 different opinions on that rabbit trail, which can send you in, it's like the Matrix. It can send you in all these other alternate realities until you're just more confused than ever.
Yeah.
So
or you find a one click ship button or whatever, and you can get it right to your door like that very same day or something. Like,
very true.
It's a crazy world we're living in. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing too for me is just that kind of this, if you're gassing for something, there is like the beauty of clicking and getting something. But we were talking last week. We went over to see our friends at 12 Fret Music here in town, and just the act of going in and trying stuff. It was like every once in a while, it's like, man, I just want to go play a bunch of guitars that maybe I would never buy, but maybe I would never get my hands on too, and be like, oh, this might be a good, good demo guitar for the shop, or it might be a good like personal guitar that I just want to play. I mean, I do have a few guitars that I haven't swapped out the pickups in, just because I don't want them to be a project kind of thing. So I don't know. What's besides Novo, like, what is kind of like on the radar for you? Like, is it, do you go through phases of like guitar and then pedal and then amp, or is it always like, how does that change?
I think I'm just such like a guitar lover, and that I need amps, like I need pedals, sure, but like once you kind of like feel like, okay, that does the sound I want, now you're like, let me plug all these different guitars into that rig and see what's different, or if anything is different.
Right.
But yeah, like the Chase Bliss stuff is something that I found really inspiring, and obviously a lot of these companies that are kind of more direct to consumer model, it's like their marketing is kind of like their first line of attack. Like there's no stores that have their stuff. I mean, people still buy stuff and stock them in businesses and everything, but like it's all online. So I think there's like a big percentage of their marketing budget that goes to online stuff, and it just gets seen, and I don't know, some stuff just gets like, it's like a sale, and if the right breeze is coming, it gets picked up, and then it gets a lot of momentum. And so you just kind of, Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm always just kind of looking around for stuff that's inspiring too. And
Yeah.
if you have a friend that's always getting gear, also too, that kind of like you're kind of like, oh, I wanna get some gear too, and I kind of want to see
Yeah.
what's up. And especially if they have cool, inspiring stuff too, then you're kind of like, wow, that person used X item to great effect. Like,
Mhm.
let me open up a new tab on my browser and leave it
Yeah.
open there, and
Yep.
I'll wander back to that.
Yeah. Anytime you're like thinking, I get this way where I'm like, I'm being really practical. I haven't bought like a expensive whatever in this much time, and then you're like, then this shiny thing kind of like goes past you. You're like, oh, what about that? And so I've done some trading, and I've done some like in the last few years, kind of like some higher end trading. Like really expensive guitars, trying to move up to a different one and things like that. And it's gone a lot better. In the past, I've done these trades, and I think I want this thing, and then I get it, and I'm like, man, I missed the thing I just traded for. Like you were saying earlier, it's like, man, I could have used that gear more than you just like develop, you're having this like, it's like the angel and demon on the shoulders, like, buy it, don't buy it, you don't need it,
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of thing. And we always talk about in the shop, like, we're not really the best influences on each other, because I tell you, I'm like, oh, I'm looking at this guitar. You're like, do it, go for it. I'm like, you're supposed to tell me to be financially responsible and not to overextend and all this stuff. But we're not so good for each other. But in that sense, but yeah, we wanted to talk about this topic, both from a manufacturer's standpoint, but just from two guys that love guitar and love guitar gear. So in the comments below, leave what you think about this subject. What influences you to buy? What doesn't influence you to buy? That would also be a good discussion of like what things kind of are you just tired of a certain way that you get marketed to, and you're like, I'm not buying that just because of how it's presented. We're really genuinely curious, because I think the gear industry is in this weird kind of flux time right now, where you've got the NAMM show coming up, and we've all just been getting hit with release after release, and it's tiring in some sense. And then as you look for a hole in your rig that you want to fill in a product, what do you go through as far as process? So leave us in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to comment, to like, to subscribe, all the things that we need to mention. Channel's been slowly growing. We've been having some really great feedback lately, just in terms of the content, kind of just a more straightforward approach, and that's what we want to keep doing. So thank you guys for watching.
Yep. See you guys next time.
See ya.